In today's video, I will be explaining pad controls versus arcade stick controls, a good custom input setup, number notations, and some tricks you can use to make inputting a lot easier. I want to emphasize that these are universally important things that you should know in order to be successful when playing Gundam Versus. The reason why I say this is because whenever you find yourself looking to learn a new suit, you can simply apply the knowledge that you learned from this video in order to read information such as combos that have terminology such as CSA or even 4.6b. Additionally, you can access the site ggez.space to learn about unit damage values and basic melee combos. This currently is the most reliable database in English for players to use. So let's first start off with becoming familiar with the difference between pad controls and arcade stick controls. I'm assuming most of you are playing on a pad, so when you take a look at the controller, you'll notice that you obviously have the three buttons known as square, triangle, and X. These buttons respectively perform shoot, melee, and boost actions. This is the important part. On pad, the triangle button is known as B on an arcade stick, the square button is known as A, and the X button is known as C. The next thing that I want to dive into are the ways of inputting your sub-weapon, AB, special melee, BC, special shooting, AC, and charged attacks. On an arcade stick, you can achieve a sub-weapon attack by inputting A and B at the same time in order to execute it. On pad, you can simply press L1 by default to achieve it, but the downside of this is that the input itself is located in an extremely awkward place and will often mess new players up in the middle of fights. This is where having a good custom control scheme comes into play, but we will dedicate the deserved time for this topic later on in the video. Moving on, to execute a special melee on an arcade stick, you have to input B and C at the same time. On pad, all you have to do is input R2, which by default combines both inputs for you regardless of custom input settings. To execute a special shooting attack on an arcade stick, you have to input A and C at the same time. On pad, all you have to do is input L2, which again by default will combine two inputs for you regardless of custom settings. Charged shots, often referred to as either a CSA or CSB, are pretty easy to do. All you have to do is hold A to perform a CSA and hold B to perform a CSB. Now we can get into picking optimal control scheme settings. For me personally, since I am a pad player, I like to use settings that essentially mimics the controls that were used back in the PlayStation 3 title, Gundam Extreme vs Full Boost. So because of that, I like using the Controller 2 setup that can be found in the main menu by going to Settings, Button Settings, PlayStation 4 Joystick Settings, and then picking Controller 2 control scheme from the top. The reason why I'm recommending this setup is because the sub-weapon is relatively close to the A and B button, and conveniently allows for better comfort while playing. By picking this option, all you are doing is switching the striker button and sub-weapon button. So now let's talk about number notations. This is also a very important concept that should really become as natural as your ABCs, because without knowing this, it would be fairly difficult to follow combos that are shown online. So what is a number notation? Well, it's basically a directional input, often noted as something such as 2B or 2AB. So something that I want you all to do is try to compare your pad's D-pad or arcade stick's directions to your computer's numpad. 8 is up, 4 is left, 6 is right, 2 is down, and 5 is just often referred to as neutral, or N, when looking at combos. Gundam Versus only uses the N or 5, 4, 6, 8, and 2 notations. These are directions that allow you to perform different variations of attacks such as general melee or even a sub-weapon. So for the sake of visual explanation, I will be showing off Gundam Exia performing combos that use such notations. So say that I wanted to perform a combo that is only described as 4-6-B-B-B. Well, I would first either input 4 or 6, and then input B 3 times, just as described. Now let's try using CC8B, which is often referred to as a boost dash 8B, because CC really means boost dash due to C being inputted twice. Now let's try showing off how you can use a sub-weapon with notations. First, we will start off with 4AB, then 5AB, and then 6AB. You would typically use 4-6 moves that have movement actions similar to Exia, depending on where the enemy player is located, or even to simply evade once you become a stronger player. So lastly, I'm going to quickly give you all a few ways to make inputting much easier. So for whatever button that you wish to assign AB to, which is your sub-weapon by the way, you can hold that button to charge both of your charged shots. So for the sake of visual explanation, we're going to be using New Gundam for this demonstration. So since my personal AB is mapped to R1, I'm simply going to hold R1 to charge both of the charged shots up. This not only is a convenient way to charge them up, but it also allows me to move around easily while dodging spam shots as well. So say that I want to release my CSA first. Well, all I have to do is release R1, and then quickly put my finger back on triangle to keep up the CSP. After the CSA is released, I can then follow up with a CSB fairly easily, resulting in a landing shot punish, plus good contribution towards neutral game. And for those of you that don't know what neutral game is, it's basically tug of war between both teams in terms of who is able to do what faster than the other. It is often revolved around countless trades that are composed of range attacks, which is why it's easy for ranged units such as Unicorn to kite players who mindlessly rush in with melee suits such as Epion. So for those of you that like meleeing a lot, you will often find it very difficult to approach good players that know how to zone properly with ranged suits. Moving on, say you want to hold on to a CSA and then want to melee somebody. Well, all you have to do is hold A and then press AB to perform the melee. This is allowed to happen because AB itself has the input B already implemented into it. So all you have to do is press AB to let the game know you want to melee. The additional A input will just be essentially negated because you are already inputting A. Very similar to the last trick, you can also hold triangle to keep your CSB ready, while also firing off main shots. This can be good for suits such as Full Armor Double Zeta when you want to surprise an enemy with a CSB, while pretending like you're just spamming main shots. Well, that's all the information that I have for you all today. I plan on releasing more content that primarily deals with strategy, unit guides, optimal strikers, DLC opinions, and more in the future. So be sure to subscribe if you're interested in things such as that. Since I am a veteran player and often perform fairly well online, you would be in very good hands. Additionally, if you wish to seek further help and would like to play with my group personally, please contact me down below in the comment section with your Discord ID. My goal for this group is to help lower the learning curve often associated with this game, while also having a fun time playing it. On a final note, I would like to say in advance that since I am a college student, my time is better spent towards my own work rather than playing video games and doing videos every day. So expect to see about 1 to 2 videos every week. Well, that's about it everyone. I wish you all the best in your Gundam vs learning and hope you all enjoy the open beta that is currently available on the PlayStation Store.